Evening, folks. Welcome to another Irish whiskey review with me, Marty Macaulay. Haven't seen you for a day or two. As I explained the other night on our show, mine and Justin's show, I sometimes lost track of time and I've been doing different things, so I've needed to refocus on other stuff. For example, today I was doing a little bit of painting in the house. So thankfully it was emulsion paint, so I was able to record one of these, and I decided to treat myself to a little whiskey and do a review. So, yes. Now, you may have noticed this. This is one of the most recognisable brands in the world. It's like Coca-Cola, it's like the Michelin Man, it's like the Nike swoosh, all of that kind of jazz. This obviously is Johnnie Walker Red Label. The very much maligned sometimes Johnnie Walker Red Label, which I'm not 100% sure as to why. I think everyone likes to be a bit of an iconoclast. Everybody likes to take down the big guy, and they don't come any bigger than this. This is, without compare, the best-selling Scotch whisky in the world. There's no comparison to this in many ways. Mainly fueled by the Far East. Lots and lots of drinkers in the US as well. They sell something akin to, I think it's about 18 million cases a year. Phenomenal sales figures. Been around for a very, very long time. A household name. And it's mainly because of this little guy here, the little walking man, which I quite like. It's got a bit of a revamp a few years ago, make him a bit more stylish and a bit more contemporary. But when you see people walking about, and I know I am anciently old and talking about these kind of things, I shouldn't talk about young people's fashions. But when you spot a young kid in their teens with their trousers pulled away down, halfway down their bums, and the knees out of their jeans, and so on and so forth, and they all look as if they haven't bothered to get dressed, although they put a huge amount of effort into it. When you see a guy, top hat, tails, carrying a cane, I mean that's stylish. No matter when that is, fashion chops and changes. Style never goes out of fashion. So Johnnie Walker Red Label. Price point. The reason this is here, I bought it in the supermarket for £14. Now let that sink in for a little second. £14. Normally it's about £20, £22, something like that. It's extremely cheap. Okay. The reason I have a glass of water here, by the way, is I've been coughing all day. I think whenever I was doing some painting, it got some dust in my throat or something. So anyone who knows me knows I'm a total hypochondriac. So I obviously, when I cough, I automatically think, oh no, COVID's hit me. But I can assure you it's not. I haven't been anywhere. I've been fairly careful and have my jabs. So anyway, now Johnnie Walker. You can go and read biographies of Johnnie Walker, but not the Johnnie Walker, because he really only became famous long after he was dead. Our podcast, which goes out on a Monday, we have already recorded a book review. I read the books, Justin listens to me talking about them. But we've done a book review. We haven't published it yet, but it's coming. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to do this. That'll be coming in a few weeks' time. I think we'll start doing some book reviews and stuff. So A Long Stride, tells the story of John Walker and Sons, and really how it became the global phenomenon that it is. And be under no illusion, folks, when everyone tells you, oh, I drink whiskey, and they talk about drinking your single cask sherry finished, single malts, exclusive, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff. That's all well and good. But that's not what keeps distilleries running. Not for very long. They need some sort of scale. They need some sort of business plan. They need a standalone product. And I'm really glad to start seeing Irish ones coming out with standalone products that people can buy consistently. Not batch ones, not batch two, not batch 3, 4, 5, and on and on and on. Standalone products that you can walk in and for whatever they're going to charge for it, pick it up off the shelf and walk out and go home. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get consistency. You're going to get the same thing, hopefully, that you buy year after year. They do all change. And that's part of this. Because this is a 2-part tasting, my friends. This is Johnnie Walker Red Label. All will be revealed in part 2. So, what is Johnnie Walker Red Label? Well, it's a blend, obviously. You'll know that. It really only came in its, if you like, current form at the start of the 20th century, about 1910 or 1909, I think maybe it is. And it started to grow, and they found international markets. It's almost impossible to explain just how important branding is. The branding that it has, this diagonal stripe, all intentional, the walking man, the idea of no matter what's going on in the world, Johnnie Walker just keeps going, keeps marching on, keeps doing what it needs to do, selling to the people that it wants to sell to. And this it does have a resonance. And the snobbery that exists in whiskey, and we've all seen it, we've all had it umpteen times, people telling you, I don't drink anything less than that, blah, 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 blah. People drink what they want to drink, okay? Johnnie Walker sells huge amounts because it's good quality. Don't be under any illusion that it's not decent quality. They don't last that long if it's not of reasonable calibre. It might not be your cup of tea. You might not rank it among the great whiskies of the world in terms of your collectibles, your £500 bottles. But not everyone can afford those. And people who are going out to buy these kind of things know what they're going to get, consistently buy it, and when it's between £14 and £25, whatever it is normally in certain shops, that's what a lot of people can afford. You have to remember, the biggest whiskey market in the world is India, by a colossal amount. It's hard to even get into people's heads, the difference between the likes of India and Japan. People think the Japanese drink a lot of whiskey. They do in certain regards, but it's nothing in terms of volume to what India does. In India, this is seen as quality. This is seen as being something that lots of the people who are buying, the consumers, would really like to aspire to having, to be drinking as their everyday whiskey. Because they really can't afford your Macallans and your Glendronachs and your even down to affordable ones like, I don't know, Writer's Tears off the top of my head. Right, now, this is a blend, and they say it has 35 plus whiskies in it. It's owned by Diageo, and Diageo have lots and lots and lots of interests and lots of distilleries in Scotland, so I'm sure it probably does. Blending allows people to have one consistency. That's a key point that lots of people don't necessarily appreciate. It allows the blender to consistently provide a product that people are paying for. And when people are paying for it, you should be providing them with what they want. Okay? Now, there are times when you are led by other forces, or the distillery decides this is what we're wanting to provide, set it out, and that's what people get. But when the paying customer comes along with their hard-earned money and puts it over the till, puts it over the internet these days. They want consistency. And a blender with that huge palette of colour, all those different distilleries, can provide that. Now, the thing about Red Label, for me, it's got nice little sweetness, fairly simple fruits, nothing too complex, but there's a little smoke there. And it's a little smoke, just a little hint of it, that comes through and gives it a bit of complexity. You might not be a peat lover, you might not really can't have your big heavy Lafroigs or that kind of thing, but a little bit of peat adds complexity. And there's some Irish guys doing this now. In fact, some of them are putting in a fair little kick of peat into their some of the stuff that they're doing. And the peat in this just comes along. Now, Diageo own Lagavulin. I'm not surprised that's Lagavulin, the peat element of that. But it's hard to know, because when there's 35, it's very hard to pick out anything. But on the nose, nice simple fruits, fairly clean apple, pear, quite little bits of estery, and all the way through to your peat. Yeah, and cereal. You're getting that cereal note, fresh barley. Yeah. Reasonable mouthfeel. A little bit of heat. 40% there is a little bit of heat. The finish, fairly light chocolate note, a little bit of, you're getting your fresh fruit coming in again. A little bit of butter and buttercream, which is quite nice. So you're getting that sweetness, you're getting that smoke. Not a huge smoke on the finish, but it's definitely there on the nose. Definitely get it in the palate. Very little on the finish. The finish, perfectly acceptable. These are normally used in Far East in highballs and this kind of stuff, where they put different stuff. They put lemonade and that kind of stuff in it, or soda water, I should say. So this is really what it's used for today. But if Johnnie Walker's your go-to whiskey, your Red Label is your go-to whiskey, don't feel as if you can't tell people this. Johnnie Walker is a great brand, and it's done an awful lot for Scotch whiskey, an awful lot for it, and not appreciate it in the ways that it should be sometimes. On the palate, the smoke quickly disappears. Heading towards a little bit of coffee, a little bit of chocolate. Some of the fresh fruits coming through, and again, nice elements of butter and a little bit of buttercream. I don't find anything wrong with Johnnie Walker Red Label. I know it's much maligned by those who tell you that if you drink it, you haven't an educated palate and all this kind of stuff. Drink what you like, folks. Don't listen to all that nonsense. But this is a two-parter, and we'll get to the second part later on. Now, as I say, we did a review of this book for the podcast. It'll be coming out in a few weeks' time. So, if I have to give it a mark, the price it's at is really in a league of its own, because there's not really anything cheaper. Whenever you consider that everything you're getting there, in reality, once you minus taxes and profits and supermarkets and suppliers and whoever it is that's selling it gets, what you're looking at there is about £3 a bottle, maybe less. So yes, it's kind of in a league of its own. I'll give it a reasonable 6.5 There's not huge bags of flavour out of it, but it's not, in terms of mouthfeel and stuff, it's spot on. So, 6.5, and we'll go for part 2. To be continued, folks.